Hey, what's up everybody? This is Travel Hackers, where we talk about how to get the most out of all your vacations. In this video, we're going to talk about traveling with a newborn. But before we do, please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. So a few weeks ago, we traveled with our 3-month-old down to Walt Disney World, which required us going on a plane from Charlotte Douglas Airport to Orlando's International Airport. And normally, me and my wife, we're the type of people that can be ready to go on a flight and really minimal packing, ready to go within just like a day or two notice. But when you're traveling with a newborn, it definitely makes things quite a bit more complicated. So here's some things that we learned that made traveling with a newborn a lot easier, and some things that we're gonna do on our next trip that we learned from this past trip. We're actually flying in like a month from now. So tip number 1, overpack. Me and my wife, we're normally the type of people that we can just use a carry-on for any type of flight. We actually went on our honeymoon to Aruba with just a small little carry-on and 2 backpacks, and we lasted the entire week with no issues. But with this trip, we had 2 carry-ons, 2 backpacks, we had 1 checked luggage, and 2 gate-checked items. So that's way more than we're normally used to traveling with, and there were still some things that we had to purchase because we didn't pack enough. So when it comes to things that you might need for your newborn, wipes, diapers, any type of medication, even if you don't normally give the medication to your newborn, bring it anyways, because you don't know if a new environment and traveling for however long, if it's going to just throw them off of their routine. So say bring as many things as you can, because it's better to have it than not to have it. And if you're going to check a bag, there's no reason not to bring extra items, especially since you're able to bring an extra item on the plane if it's for a newborn. Tip 2, compartmentalize. And what I mean by that is, for our packing, what we did is we compartmentalized every single thing into smaller little bags. So for our check bag, we had all of our items into packing cubes. I had blue, my wife had these pink leopard ones, and then we had purple ones for our daughter. And it made it so much easier when we got to our place, when we got to the hotel, so that we were able to just grab our items. We could throw them in a drawer. It made unpacking so much easier, and it also made packing so much easier as well. And while we were there for the 4 days, it made it so much easier because I knew exactly where all of our items were. I knew exactly where all of my daughter's items were. And if my wife, she was taking care of our daughter, or whatever the case is, I could grab her stuff, or vice versa. She can grab my stuff if I was helping out, or she could grab my stuff if I was taking care of our daughter. So it made it significantly easier to put everything into packing cubes. Also, for our diaper bag, since we were going into Disney World, we have these smaller cubes that are about this big, and we were able to put in 2 different ones. One had all of her like diaper changing items, so like the wet wipes, the diapers, diaper spray, a burp cloth if something happened, and then we had another one that had her actual changed items. So if we needed to do a change, because in the morning it was a lot cooler than the afternoon, we were able to change her clothes, and it was a lot easier because if my wife was going to go into the bathroom, hey, I'm going to go change her, all I had to do is hand her one little bag instead of this enormous backpack, or her trying to bring the stroller into the bathroom. Just made it so much easier being able to compartmentalize everything. Tip 3, use a checklist. When it came to packing, we used Notion. It's a super easy app that you're able to share different checklists with other people, or share other notes with other people. And we just created a checklist of items that I needed, my wife needed, and that we needed for our daughter. And it allowed it when I was at work, I could say I needed 3 daytime shirts, I needed 3 dress shirts, I needed a pair of pants, 2 shorts, and then my wife was able to grab them. It made it super easy for us to actually make sure that we had enough for every single day. Even though we didn't pack enough, it at least took a lot of the stress of do we have enough off of my wife and my mind, so that we were able to actually gather all the items that we actually thought we needed. So this is a huge one. Tip 4, change of clothes for the adults. So this is a huge one. Tip 4, change of clothes for the parents. Everybody thinks about change of clothes for the newborn because obviously, you know, they're making a mess, they're spitting up, they're having diapers, they might have a blowout. Not many people think about, especially us, about the amount of times that we have to change our shirt because she ends up spitting up on our shirt or whatever the case is. When we were flying, almost immediately once we got through security, we sat down, we were sitting there ordering food, and our daughter ends up spitting up onto my wife's shirt and she had to change. So luckily we did bring 2 changes of shirts for both of us so that my wife could change. She wasn't sitting there for the entire flight and then the entire ride back to the hotel with a spit up shirt that was just completely wet. So if not, she wouldn't have been able to enjoy the flight. It just would have been a horrible experience with just her shirt entirely wet. So remember, change of shirt for the adults. The next tip, tip number 5, is TSA PreCheck. If you're not aware of what TSA PreCheck is, it's a process where you get an interview before to qualify for this program, and then you're given 5 years where you don't have to go through the same security process if you don't have TSA PreCheck. So you don't need to take off your belt, you don't need to take off your shoes. For your bags, you don't need to take out any electronic items. Only thing that you really have to do is empty your pockets. That's really it. And typically the lines are significantly shorter with TSA PreCheck. Now, my wife, she carried our daughter in on one of those chest carriers, so she was able to walk through with our daughter, and it made it a lot easier because she didn't need to worry about taking off her shoes, her belt, all these things. All she had to do is just empty her pockets, walk through. I handled putting all of our bags in through security, so for us it was a significantly faster process. It only took us a couple minutes to get through security, going to Orlando and coming back from Orlando. Now, in Orlando, when we flew out, it was on a Saturday at midday towards the end of the afternoon. There was a insane TSA line. It was probably a good hour and a half line for the normal TSA line. And since we had TSA PreCheck, it took us only 5 minutes or so to get through security. So if you are planning on traveling through a major airport like Orlando, Atlanta, something like that, we definitely suggest getting TSA PreCheck because right now lines are getting really, really long, whether you have a newborn or not. But for us, it made it so much easier because it took a lot of the stress off of us. We didn't need to. The next step, 6, is gate check. So you're able to gate check certain items that might be fragile or that are a necessity for if you have maybe a kid. So we were able to gate check both our stroller and our car seat. So my wife, she got these 2 storage containers for them. One was this really big padded bag for the car seat, since obviously it needs to be a little bit more protected. So we were able to put the car seat and the car seat base into it once we were at the gate, and then we had another bag that was for our stroller. And super easy process. We went up to the counter just before we started to board. They gave us these tags. We tagged it and walked down right before we entered the plane. We left the items there. They put the items on the plane, and when we got back, or when our flight was over, the items were sitting at the same place at the end of, just outside of the plane. So it was really easy, really convenient. It gave us the opportunity of being able to bring all of our items for our daughter, knew that they were there, knew that they weren't getting checked, and chances of going onto the wrong plane, something like that. It just saved a lot of peace of mind. It just gave us a lot of peace of mind to know that we had the items there that were just outside of the plane for us. Tip number 7, pre-board. So if you have an infant, especially one that's going to be a lap seat, so she sat on my wife's lap the entire time, you're able to pre-board. So they'll allow you to board before they'll allow you to board immediately. We were like the first people on. Since we had an infant, made it a lot easier for us. We were able to get on, we were able to kind of get our stuff settled in, we were able to get her settled in before everybody started coming down. It would have been much more stressful if we waited till we were actually supposed to board. We were in like the third or fourth wave of people that were boarding, so there would have been a lot of people already on it. The plane would have been loud, there would have been a whole bunch of congestion, and that would have just made it really, really challenging for our daughter. So the fact that we did pre-board definitely helped us out a lot. We were able to calm her down, everything like that. The last tip number 8, is do a practice run. Now, I was so busy at work, I was working extra hours so that I was able to, you know, enjoy the time off. So this is something that we didn't do, but we definitely in advance would do a practice run. And what I mean by that is have all of our items packed, figure out how we're gonna be able to carry the items through the airport, how we were gonna carry the items from the car to the airport, and then all the items that we didn't check through the airport, through security, things like that. Because we ended up having a total of 4 bags that we were bringing onto the plane. We had 2 items that we were going to be checking, and we didn't realize the logistics of carrying that many items through when you have a newborn baby that was strapped to one of the person's chest that was going to be carrying the items, so she couldn't carry that many items. So we figured out on the way back the easier way to carry the items, but it definitely would have made it a lot easier for us if we would have just, you know, thought about it, figured out how we were going to pack everything up. We didn't really even know how to use the gate check bags that my wife bought, so we were figuring that out in the middle of the parking lot, which we should have realized that we were going to actually put the items in the gate check bag at the gate. If we would have done a practice run, we would have known that. But those are 8 of our tips that we learned from traveling with a newborn over this last trip. Let us know if you have any tips that work for you, if you traveled with a newborn or any kids just in general. Thank you for watching. Again, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and hit the bell icon for notifications. I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.